Yeah. There's going to be a question and answer. There will be a question and answer. Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Well, that's an auspicious way to start. So, oh, I am. I'm monitoring chat. So that being said, maybe two computers, but welcome to anybody who has joined the stream. Good evening now. It's good evening. So welcome to the CIS 4398 Capstone final demos. I hope you're all as excited as I am, because clearly I'm really excited about this, to see what our last group of students has come up with. First, I want to talk about what is the capstone. The CIS capstone is designed to allow students to use the culmination of all of their previous coursework and outside experiences to build software as a team. And this presents a lot of interesting challenges because working in a team-based environment is often pretty challenging. So students heavily collaborate on their projects using Jira project management software for planning and estimating their project's workload. And students integrate all of their code together through software like GitHub. I hope the pictures are good. Many students this semester also chose to take on projects involving hardware with more challenges, whether it be soldering, 3D printing, and working with embedded systems such as the Raspberry Pi microcomputer. Students spend a lot of additional time outside of the class working on these projects, some building full-blown systems in my office for months. The enthusiasm has been, it's been insane. So this isn't all that we ask of students, however. We also ask that students document their projects from proposal to requirement specifications, architecture design, API specifications, list goes on. We use a tool called Docasaurus to maintain these artifacts, as you can see. We have 6 projects, actually. Hold on. No. I don't have the name of your project on the list because I am terrible. Let me unskip that. We have one last project, the Synesthesia free app for section 3. Highly anticipated. We're really excited to see it. This is the one project in my class that actually has a real client, which is Marilyn, who's with us. Let's get started. Good luck.
Okay, so let's get started. We did choose a better name, Color in Sync. So, I'm Andrew Khan. This is Lisa Townsend. We got Elijah Begum and Mohammed. We are Color in Sync. So Mohammed, why don't you start us off explaining what grapheme-color synesthesia is?
So grapheme-color synesthesia is the position of letters and numbers. For example, one person might view the letter M as the yellow, as the color yellow, and that color will stay consistent for that person. But different people will have different colors. So one person's M could be crimson red, while another person's M could be navy blue. And so, research has shown that putting the letter in that person's synesthesia color helps increase reading speed and comprehension.
All right. And Elijah, how would you like to explain what our app does, how it does it?
I would love to. So Mara came to us with this proposal for an application that would take in a text, a document, and render it in the associated colors for that person with grapheme-color synesthesia. So we created a web application so that it's accessible from any device by just going to the website, where you can upload a PDF document, and it will, after you've set what your letter color associations are, it will create a colored version on the site that you can read, where each word or part of a word, a morpheme, is colored based on the associations you inputted into the site. So Alyssa is going to take us through a little demonstration of how that works.
Off to you, Alyssa.
Thanks. So here, let's say today that I am a grapheme-color synesthete, and I will share my screen so you can see what I'm seeing. And so did it lose?
Epic.
Sorry, it seems to have lost the page when it was originally on the big screen there. We had it set up to be on the big screen, and then I guess it died when we got
Go
disconnected.
to the browser.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just getting the
Yeah.
browser. I just have to get past the all the little pop-ups from
Epic.
the yeah. Well, from the Zoom, all the tabs are being hidden by Zoom. So I am again these gosh darn Zoom things. All right. So let's say, for example, I'm a grapheme-color synesthete, and I would like to read in my colors because it's easier and faster. So what I can do is I can go to app.colorandsync.com. And this is the first time that I'm on this website. So I'm going to log in with a Google account that I already have a Google account. Cool. That's pretty easy. And since this is the first time I'm logging in, I have to give it my colors. So I can go through this menu. Just takes a few minutes to give it all of my colors.
Yeah, so you set the colors for each letter and every not every number, but every digit. Then the site will build the colors of words for you when you upload text. So Alyssa is setting we have a little color picker there where you can select each letter and see how it will look. And then once she gets to the end of the numbers, she'll be taken to the document library screen where she can begin to look at the document.
So now that I've created my account at some point, I'm heading into work on the train. I'm not super busy, and I want to read my favorite novel in the relaxing comfort of my own colors. So I'm going to pull up A Wrinkle in Time and now I've uploaded it. You can see I just chose it from my computer. I've uploaded it with that upload menu right there. Don't worry, I'll show it again. And I can pull it up here. Oh, here's page 1. Mrs. Whatsit. It was a dark and stormy night. And you can see that it's in my colors. And oh, what's this? It shows Mrs. Whatsit. It's a compound word. Bedroom, also a compound word. And a compound word has these multiple morphemes or smaller units of meaning inside of it that I see in different colors. That my mind breaks down into these different colors. So here the app breaks down these compound words for me, and I can see words like bedroom or patchwork, these compound words in the colors of each component. Okay, I had some fun reading. I'm done. Get off the train. And that's still in my library. And let's say now I'm at work and I need to look at a proposal that somebody I work with, a colleague, sent me. It's a proposal for a synesthesia reading app. Maybe they want to call it Color in Sync. So I take that again from my downloads folder or a folder on my machine, and I've uploaded it and I want to read it. Cool. Okay. I'm reading it. It's nice. I want to be efficient at work, so I read it in a way that is more efficient, as in seeing it in my colors. Well, this is a bit longer than the first page of A Wrinkle in Time. So I'm going to go to the next page. Okay, cool. I've read it very fast. Next page again, which is references. I can go through the different pages here and read that more efficiently this way. And that's what I wanted to show you.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. And thanks to Mohammed and Elijah as well. Once again, thank you again. Perfect. Yes. And we are Color in Sync. And again, my name is Andrew Khan, and I think that's all we have for you.
We are Color in Sync. We are not a boy band. You're a team of programmers.
Yes. Yes,
That would have been so good.
not in sync.
Not in sync.
Color.
Well, so, you know, I've got tons of questions,
Okay.
that I'm gonna make up on the fly.
Don't tell
So-
us that.
Yeah, I know, I'm really good today, so, yeah. Well, okay, so how does the algorithm work for coloring the letters? Like the, based off of the colors that you chose, that you color the entire word, like how does that, like, can you describe how it makes those, decisions?
Yeah, so in the end, we went through some different, more complicated iterations. In the end, we went, hey, you know, it actually seems to work fine. Just make the word, pardon me, the color of the first letter. Which, when you think about it, that makes sense. Most of the time when a person reads a word, if they're fluent in that language, what you're going to get is not like, you don't look at each individual word, you look at the first word and then like the shape of it. And here, with like the compound words, it's broken down further into multiple components of the word. So what we have is just basically an algorithm that takes the text out of the PDF, and then with that text, it compares it with a dictionary and goes, are there any smaller words? And is there a way to break up this word so that it's made up of multiple words, i.e. is a compound word? And if that is the case, then it breaks them up separately to be colored. Okay, now send it to the colorer. The colorer goes, what's the first letter of this word? Cool. We will get the name of that color in RGB, which is in the form that the computer understands. And then we will say, this is this word, this is this color. Cool. Package that back up, the unique word color map representation there and the actual text of the document, package it up, send it back to
First the back end, and then the back end transports it to the front end.
Yeah, there were some attempts made.
No, I'm just laughing at the football that just like.
There were some attempts made to use machine learning to generate the word colorings based on the user's letter colorings. However, we ran into essentially a lack of data problem. So there are implications that modifications and enhancements could be made to the word coloring algorithm if you were to like have access to a larger pool of data.
we also thought at first that the color of the word, the algorithm to derive it, so to speak, was a lot more complicated than it actually is. Right now it works. If we go, what is the first letter? Cool, that's it. At first we thought it was going to be more complicated than that. And so we wanted the machine learning algorithm for that. Definitely not because it was cool and anything like that. But then with the data problem and the realization that it's a lot simpler than we were making it, we don't need to do that. We went simple.
Right. And the color algorithm does have built-in support for weird exceptions to the rule that may arise. May not be fully implemented yet, but that functionality is there hiding somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the way that the data is constructed is capable of breaking out exceptions. Most common exceptions are things like, I may see the letter R as blue, but I might see the word red as red. So currently there is no front-end instantiation of identifying every one of those exceptions for every user, or but the connection and the data modeling means that it could very easily be integrated a system, because essentially the front end just keys off a list of every word in the document and its associated color. So it would, by changing the colors and words that the API is providing, you can easily add some exceptions in there.
Yeah.
and it would be very easy.
Yeah, so right now the coloring process, it does first go through, in the coloring profile, there is a section of exceptions. So there's a section of exceptions during the coloring process before it colors a word. It just goes, hey, is this word, first it goes, hey, is this word an exception? If not, then it looks at the first letter. So it currently does that. However, right now we just don't have the capability of adding to that list of just
So there's some very
a button
complex
to do
exceptions
that.
built in, but there's nothing to like get the exceptions for a specific user.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned about the lack of data problem. Could this application be a part of the solution to gathering that data in the future to develop a potential machine learning algorithm for this this complicated issue?
Yes.
Sort of. So the thing that is, well, yeah, you'd have to ask people if they're okay with it, but that's pretty easy to do. They get it from a website. We put on the website, hey, you okay with this? And there's of course other paperwork that goes to actually doing things with it. But so yes, we can use color data for various types of analyses, and even just getting feedback on like, hey, is this type of coloring helpful to more than 2 to 3 people who tested it? I think 2 people who tested it, yes. Yeah, 1 and then 2 with the friendlies. Maybe 1. Cool. Yeah, more than 1 person. However, oh, sorry. The machine learning algorithm would be looking at, if we're looking specifically for a machine learning algorithm to color it in a different way, it doesn't necessarily have the data of the other types of coloring. However, just looking for information on how helpful it is to color words in this way, or what kind of colors people have, that could do. Yeah, that would be the exception function, where right now we have the list of exceptions, but we don't have a button to add it personally. So that would be that.
It's a planned feature.
Yeah, but essentially it would be easy. It would just be a necessity of writing creating the user interface for that, because the API is fully capable of retrieving your color profile and editing your
So when you upload the document, does color, or if you upload a document, does it save the colors of the document for future use, or does it just recolor it every time?
Currently, it colors it at time of flight. So when you it actually doesn't color it when you upload it. It colors it when you open it.
It's really fast.
Yeah. So it might be, I imagine, if the coloring algorithm were to grow in complexity, it may become necessary to add optimizations, such as only coloring 1 page at a time. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, so that I imagine the speed is mostly related to the fact that the API, one is that the API is not very chatty, where it really only it's just kind of getting 1 call. But I imagine the speed is also due to the sort of simplicity of the coloring algorithm.
How did you end up implementing the coloring algorithm? Because I know we kind of talked about all the different design, like microservices approaches for it. Did you end up using Python, or did you use PHP in the end, or how'd that go?
Yeah, we have a Python Flask on the Amazon server. So you just have that Python Flask running on localhost 5000, I think is what we have it on, and the Laravel backend, that PHP backend, sends a call to localhost 5000. Hey guys, here's some text in a color profile. Give me a color document, and it sends it back.
Yeah, so on the server that's running the website, there's a little siloed computer program that just takes in text and the user's color information and spits out the combined text with its color.
No, that's awesome. So as far as the API goes, because you mentioned that it has the those capabilities for updating the different colors, are those API endpoints documented so that someone in the future could maybe implement that user interface, like change or request because the software is open? Is that there? And if it's not, see the lead, go write that down. Yeah, no. But like how, like, is that API endpoint accessible, or is it just that the data like
I think a little bit more thought needs to be put into how that's going to be documented and yeah.
Okay. Are there any other like modifications that you feel like you really wanted to finish in the time, or yeah?
Yes. So I would say one thing I know that currently, I believe, if you were to like completely close out of the application, and then reopen it, you would not be able to see the documents that you had uploaded. So currently, what would need to happen is essentially when you log in, it would need to query the server for all of your documents, which currently does not happen. So that's something that I'd like to see added in the future.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the colorful file saved to the database, but it currently every time it also, just as it doesn't check if you have any existing documents, it doesn't check if you have an existing color file. So it's in the database, but the front end is not saying, hey, do I exist yet?
Okay. Oh, by the way, Amy Grove says great job.
That's my mom.
Thank you, Amy Grove.
Yeah, no, so yeah, that's you have
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Do you have any?
I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
Right.
Yeah. Let's figure
Right,
that.
that's still a problem that we would need to find a smart solution to. Right now, it's just gonna see the two individual words in there, and it's not gonna be able to tell the difference whether it should be considered a compound word.
Yeah. There's the problem you run into with that is if you go, well, is this a larger word a word? For every single compound word, you're gonna get, yeah, it's a word. So there need to be a further solution of checking, is this a compound word? But that requires a lot of going through a lot of words.
White.
Yeah.
Oh, I.
Yeah. That's another thing that machine learning might be suited for, is like language processing and sort of dividing words into like kind of atomizing them based on their meaning, because like frantically is actually not a compound word of frantic and ally, even though ally is a word.
You upload, like, let's say a larger text, and it breaks into pages. A, that looks great. B, does it do it by paragraph? Or that's what I was saying. Or like, how does it decide how many words are on?
Oh, it does. So the minute, so yeah, so it decides how many words are on a page basically by the size. It just does a calculation every time you render it, and every time you resize the window. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah, that's not entirely true, but I'm trying to think of any other, I mean, I think the questions we've asked so far are good or gives more context into maybe what were some of the real challenges in developing this, and actually what was it like working in a small class of 4? You can all answer that however you want. Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, starting with like the size of the class, it's kind of nice in some ways, having a smaller class like this, and like basically, getting more of like a, well, one group to one professor type experience. So that was good. But like downside, I think, is just like being limited to 4 people, like just having a small group, there was a lot of work that we would have liked to get done, that we could have maybe achieved with more people. So, it's like, say a 6-person group, something like that, more things could have gotten done, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways in which like even if like nominally something is achievable with 4 people, it puts you at a higher risk of if one member of the group is like incapacitated in some way.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, well, it just means that you are like not having like a cushion of personnel is challenging, even if like, oh yeah, nominally this is fine for 4 people. It's like, oh, okay, but then you have no like budget for someone getting sick or this or that going.
So in the end, since you had the extended time, especially working together, like what do you feel like? Do you feel like a lot like changed in how you were working or approaching some of these problems? Like just yeah, I could tell that there was. I was just wondering, like,
Could you?
I mean, there was definitely, I think, in the beginning, right? It was like we were kind of like specializing a lot in certain areas, but in this last like week, we kind of all were coming together, fixing various problems. What was it? What was that like?
I think early on, well, speaking for myself, but maybe some of the other group members feel this way, that a lot of that was just trying to figure out like what even's going on here, what's my place in the group, what am I doing, and how do I do it? Then like, middle of the road, for me, like a lot of my classes picked up, and it's just like, working through things, there's like a lot of work for everything going on. And like the end, it became crunch time. And it's like, I know what I'm doing now. And like, I know what I need to achieve. And I'm just trying to get it done as best I can.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of challenging because I was like, okay, now there are like no more front end problems, but there are back end problems. So then like having to transition very quickly into like, how do I like, how do I test these things? How do I write code that works? How do I set up workflows that are good? And that was like kind of challenging when it happened like right at the end. And I was sort of like in panic mode because I was like, I feel like I don't know. I felt like it came together kind of late. And so I felt like, it's like, oh, like, then eventually we got somewhere.
Yeah.
It was a big comeback.
I feel like it made sense at the beginning to be covering these separate areas because we needed to figure out what we were doing with these areas. However, as time goes on, then maybe it would have been better to have those as we are more certain in what we were doing to have that intermixing sooner. Because there's definitely a bump at the
Yeah, I
end,
would have,
but
oh, sorry, you have more to say?
that was the gist of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been helpful if we had done more integration sooner. And just generally like, there was a lot of features that were planned and then like, they just sort of weren't gonna be in the scope of the project based on the timeline. And I think like I know Alyssa, right, worked a lot on like developing like setting up machine learning things. And then eventually it just came to be like it came to not be part of what the final product ended up being. And I think if I could do it again, I think I would collectively make sure we weren't doing any like work on something that, or as little as possible work on something that doesn't end up like in the project, which probably means like just starting on like, okay, let's start and make sure we can get like all of the different pieces of the program connected, and then sort of build up rather than like build the superstructure and then fit things under it.
There's actually a question. Are there any common sets of letter/color combos that people could pick from instead of having to select each letter individually?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think what I imagine is that like, and Mara, are there any like letters that are kind of like that one would associate as being like phonetically similar? Is there a correlation between like phonetic similarity and color similarity? No, but I mean, it's like for a particular person. Are there letters that tend to be colored together, like the same?
Like maybe like
maybe it's best you don't.
Oh, okay.
No. Also, someone says, "Who is the blonde guy with the glasses?"
That's probably my dad. My dad.
that's crazy.
Oh, does the algorithm support other kinds of synesthesia, numbers, letters with different sizes of fonts?
So, no.
That
I don't know. I think I have a lot of crazy fonts.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah.
Elijah Bigham, expert.
Our app is just highly specialized with this one kind of synesthesia. And like, I think a lot of thought would need to go into creating an app for a different kind of synesthesia.
I think you could, yeah, they would just basically be separate apps that are like in the same thing. Just for like ease of access, and they would probably have to do very few things.
Okay, so I do have one last technical question, because just out of my own interest, I kind of suggested to you all to use the Laravel framework.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent, how do you feel about it? And if I were to maybe introduce a software design lab in just Laravel?
I felt good about it. I felt like a lot of the things that Laravel did made sense.
Right, and like it does a lot of the preparatory work for you. You know, it gets you set up to just focus on building it. Like, you know, working in PHP, I mean, people, you know, give PHP a lot of flack, but honestly, the thing that annoys me most about PHP is the fact that the name is self-referential. Just the acronym is self-referential. It's just an infinite loop. That it just bothers me. But aside from that, PHP is fine, in my opinion.
I love that of all the things, it's just the name.
Just the name
is bad. Yeah, no. Oh, I like that the original logo. It kind of looked like a little elephant, which is cute. But yeah, that digress on that
As far as making it a software design lab, I think the big hurdle would be make sure there is support in place for students to be like, okay, how do I test this? I'm getting all of this set up. A software design, they've already used you know, I forget the name of, the CS server and such, like they're used to remote to SSH, etc. But making sure that there's support in place of, okay, this is what you're how you're going to be testing it. This is where you're doing XYZ. Okay, you're gonna set this up on your local host or something. You know what I mean? Just like how are you have a plan in place for how they're going to be implementing and testing, and some documentation shown up for them. These are the steps for getting this started so they can actually focus on the
I
building
have
of it.
some ideas on how to do that, but I think you bring up an interesting point though. That it's kind of like an under the hood thing that we're not necessarily appreciating, is that all of this is live and that we can use it right now, like it's on a web server. Exactly. Cool, right? So what was, what were some of the challenges of getting this all like hosted and put together? Because I know that was.
So like a lot of it was just, trying to like figure out just what the heck is even going on here. Like I'm sure some of us might have like used some servers or something in like classwork previously or whatever work we've done. But it's like, for me, it's like, I'm just looking through trying to parse through all the different issues that this one thing could be. And then it turns out something really simple, and then I'm kicking myself for it. And
Yes. Yeah. That's usually the way.
it was a journey. It was a journey.
Yeah. Anybody else feel? I know you handled all of the like the front end hosting and things. And no.
What do you mean? I said, yeah.
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 I was about to say like no. All right, just don't take the credit. But what is in comparison to like the back end of hosting, like how did you feel about like the front end hosting and like you like what
It was easy. I pointed the like web framework at the GitHub repository. And it said, okay, it's built.
AWS, which is what I used, was not quite so simple, and there was a lot of like permission set up and like all this other like engine setup that I needed to do to make it run.
I think that's part of the thing. I just wanted to like kind of illuminate is that it's weirdly like what we're seeing right now, that was fairly easy to just deploy. But everything that's doing the under the hood, the coloring and like giving us the data and the storage, that was almost Herculean. Not diminishing, because obviously the work in the front end was like, effort and work and hard. But it's weird that these two different like hosting solutions, one is very plug and play and the other is just very like, you are now being tested on so many varying skills that are like maybe outside of our major completely. I feel it's this whole like just all of these like these separate services coming together, and we're just seeing one thing at the end of the day. It's what I call there's many pieces here that are just like we're just seeing like, oh, it's coloring it, but there's more, which is really deceiving.
One thing like going back to the software lab, there's one conversation I was like, hey Andrew, I did a thing, what did the log say? Can you send me a screenshot, because I don't know how to find the log file, like.
And like because I've been like working through the logs. By the way, the logs have been so incredibly helpful to me to figure out what the issues have been. But it's like, just because I have been using the logs, I just know where to go to look for them.
No, that's actually a great point. It's just like reading logs is a whole other thing too, that you need to like even knowing that you need to find the logs. It's that's something. Okay. So. What was your favorite part of this project? And would you recommend someone take on something like this that's working with like an external client? And actually, that's not even really a choice, but like what I mean, in comparison to like the rest of the class, which I don't know if you saw the other demos, but you know, can you like, do you feel like it was like a good experience having this like sort of like, hey, I want this thing, and then like making it happen for back and forth communication?
Absolutely. I don't know, like I always get very discouraged, or I sometimes get discouraged when working on software projects, especially as part of like school curriculum. Yeah, this is for no one.
Yeah,
You gotta get canned. So even something like building something that's like maybe like is at least like contributing to something. Yes. Yeah, and there's some like need for is like what's like motivating.
Yeah, it was definitely motivating. I think it was also helpful for the purposes of the capstone, where getting used to working with a client, that's kind of trying to simulate somewhat industry conditions is kind of the point of this course. So that was very much doing that, as well as again working with Andrew did the lion's share so with setting up the back end of EC2, working with various different things like okay, we have this new to us technology, how we're using it, okay, go ask Google it, okay, now go ask someone, that kind of thing, where finding a solution or the framework of the solution, looking it up, as opposed to generally in a software project in school, you go, this is the framework and the type of solution that you're going to give. I would like you to make this solution to this problem. Was, I would say, a good experience, learning experience, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the motivating factor was definitely having, you know, like an outside influence on what the project is and, you know, how we're doing it. But oftentimes a problem I feel like I have with a lot of just personal projects is I feel like oftentimes they just start out half-baked and then it's like, well, I don't really have a ton of interest in this. And then I just end up dropping it. Yeah. And it's like, unless something's like really, really important to me, like a self-motivated project is really, really hard to do. Like, you know, even just harder than like the technical aspect of putting it together. It's just finding the motivation to say, hey, this is a cool thing and I should, you know, finish this and like do it. You know, versus somebody's asking me to do something, you know, I want to do that job to the best of my ability.
Obviously, congratulations. I don't know if Mary, do you have any other questions or just, I think closing remarks. And that's a great testimonial. In general, not many of these projects actually make it outside of the classroom. So like that's all.
Just don't close the tab.
Don't close.
I think maybe we could coordinate and like try to like finish some of the incomplete features.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just after, like just to, you know, give you a finish.
I'm removing the main branch protections. I'm going crazy.
Yeah, so one thing I want to do is I want to set up the Flash
You definitely
run at when the EC so it's done on a remote Amazon server, and right now we have to set the that little silo that does the actual coloring in that and manually turn that on. And so what we need to do is, or I need to do whatever, is say, hey, when that server boots up because someone contacted it,
Yeah.
tell it to boot up the little silo as well. And then it will be usable without calling me first. Hey, Alyssa, can you turn on the silo? Thanks.
Yeah, it's like there's, the other thing is that, there's just 4 of them, right? And the protections that Elijah was talking about is that they actually have to peer review each other's code in order to actually.
That's why I was wondering what all of that stuff meant.
Yeah.
I was like, do they all have to like everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The major challenge was that we did not develop a workflow for, usually when you're developing software for a web server, you will have essentially a like mini website, a like test website that exists and is hosted and works the same way. And the reason you do that is so that you don't do what we have to do, where every time you make a change, in order to see if that change worked, you have to deploy it on the live server, which means you need someone else to approve the change. And then you need someone to access the server and pull the changes onto it. So it was like, that was a big like slowdown work.
Oh my God. I just wanted to see like what the statistics are now. And there's like the high number of requests is like 60. Like 64.
Only 60?
That's for one person.
For one person, that makes more sense.
Which person?
I was like 60 total, that's so low.
Actually, Andrew is in the lead right now.
I bet.
You're second. I don't know how that happened. You just like shot right up.
There was a lot of small pull requests making like many changes. Like some of it was just me like trying to print out logs to see what I can do and what's going on.
And if you have like, this happened a lot where if you like make a typo, and then and then someone else approves your pull request, then you're like, oh, I have to change this one character. So then you have to make it pull.
And you didn't realize you made a typo till after they merged it because you
Yeah.
merged it to test it.
Yeah, so that was like definitely a big headache. But
What?
oh, it's so you don't like, it's so that there's protections for your website, so you can't just like
Yeah, whether by accident or
This
with
is a misuse.
no,
that's there's a lot of philosophical reasons too. Like, the idea being is in this like sort of like agile team, right? You're actually supposed like crunch time like this quite to this degree, but there would also be testing frameworks and things that are sitting there in the background going and checking, hey, did you make a typo, or hey, does like the code that you wrote actually like break or not? Like they would like self-test. That may have fallen through the cracks a little bit, I think, or at least it's not automated.
It's not automated.
Every pull request has a, hey, this is deployed under self.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's not changing the front end.
Yeah, so the deployments are definitely like all automated, which is great. That actually speeds things up a lot, but they're not just deploying one thing, they're deploying like 3 things. In fact, if you count the documentation. So
yeah, the main thing is you're supposed to have something that you don't have to go through like a version that you can easily change without reviews, so that you can say, okay, now I know like it's correct, I can merge it onto like the live version that the world.
You have like 100-something reviews. You've made like you've actually taken my little chart and made the line so small.
Oh yeah. So that's for not making pull requests but approving them.
Yeah. Those are the numbers. Those are the numbers that are like smushed together. You can see here that it's normal. Here it is for reviews. Pull requests are like a little bit insane too, but yeah. You can see that.
I think that's often just the factor of Elijah just being one of the more available.
Oh yeah, what did you say, Andrew?
I think that's also just the factor of Elijah being one of the more available members. You know, he's usually the first to respond when somebody says, I have a PR.
Yeah. It's like, I got you. Like, and then he's also the first one that's gonna go, someone please review this, please.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be that you do not have to send messages in whatever team communication software you're using. Because you're supposed to have notifications when pull requests are opened.
That being said, in industry, they're still doing that. They're just like, hey, I got this thing, or like they'll have an automated system that'll just like send a Slack message to everybody saying like, hey, this is request up, can you review it? But yeah, no, there's a lot of the you've still got that environment, and you've also seen just how challenging that is once you get into a more established company that actually has all of these like ceremonies, right? You're at least able to recognize like what's going on.
Yeah, it made me sad that I'm someone who's very agrees with the like ideology of like the workflows. Like it made me sad that we devolved into making pull requests that had no comments. Yeah, and the description was just like yeah, the title of the pull request would just be like, it would just be code or something. Yeah.
It was like, oh no, I think oh no was
like review process, because like you can't, the thing you would be checking is, does this code work, which you can only know once it's deployed on the server, which can only happen once you approve it.
Yeah, as of today, we can deploy other branches, but like,
Oh, that's awesome.
but that was not really the case for the whole thing for the vast majority.
Yeah, like for some, it makes it really easy to say like, hey, give me a different site that is a different text bridge.
Yeah, I love that it's 184 pull requests total from this is a 4-person group, 184 pull requests, and trying to for loop instead. Moment of truth.
Moment of truth was a good one.
Going somewhere.
Yeah, I reviewed Moment of Truth with like,
Like the lone defender of like naming my pull request useful things.
you had
This is awesome.
a lot of that.
Baby. Oh,
I named my commits useful things, okay?
I know. There's oh no. Pull request number 135. I remember that one. I think we have quotes.
I mean, like honestly, so honestly, like during like the final like few weeks, during that crunch time, like I just got like too tired to actually like put the technical stuff.
Yeah.
In
Another
Put
thing.
in the book would be like
So
pull
I-
request number, pull request title, and pull request time.
I think I found
Yeah,
I think I found the final sign where they started to go wrong. It's like number 85. Number 85 was still like professional, and then it just went, yeah, it just went downhill. It just went downhill.
another thing is a lot of the later pull requests, we were all on like either on like an audio call or like on the Discord. So say Andrew did a pull request that was like about logging that he called timber. Like
Yeah.
I knew he was logging a specific thing. I saw it was like added this log. Like there, if you're literally chatting about it 30 seconds ago on audio,
Yeah.
and it's just logging it in.
It really hurts.
It was a real, it was poetry.
I'm sad that GitHub doesn't do a great job at telling you the exact time that these things happen. It's just like last week, like I can get all of this, like if I download your project, I can find all this information, but I would love to just see it right now.
If you check the deployments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when the workflow started.
I can just see this being, yeah.
If I was
I think, is the demo over?
I can, yeah, we can cut this. It's still streaming. That was fun. Yeah. No, wait, no, I honestly.
you don't want our pull request poetry revealed to the world.
I think it's great. It's all public anyway. I'm just glad you guys didn't put any obscenities or anything in. The other thing is like the documentation is handled the same way. So it's all public.
But end the stream.
End this, all right, bye, everyone.
Like, share, and subscribe.